everyone, how you doing today? I'm Kirsty and this is every single book on my physical TBR. You can just about see them behind me. In fact, if I move my tablet, you will see them. I also have some books up here as well. And essentially, these are all of the books that I have on my TBR. I think I have over 100 books on this bookcase. I've had this bookcase for forever. Today's video is a mixture of things. It's partly going through every single physical book on the TBR and showing you what I've got. It's also partly organising these into something more functional for this year, because if you watched my January TBR, which I will link above, I have restarted my game that is a My Hero Academia themed game, and for that I have 6 categories that I want to split my books into. So I'm going to organise the shelves so that those 6 categories are sorted. And very briefly, I keep my hardbacks up on the top because this shelf is too low to store them on, and all the other shelves, they just don't all fit on all the shelves, which is really frustrating, so they all go at the top. The very top shelf, I have books that I have already started and need to finish at some point. I don't yet know what the middle bit's going to be. At the moment it's just got a random assortment of books shoved on there. And then this is the self-destruct selection of books that I did at the start of the year that I sort of keep separate from everything else so that I know those are the books I have to get done this year. So they're like the ones that I look at first when I build any TBRs. So we're going to go through each of these shelves. I'm going to pull all the books off, I'm going to sort them out and then go through them via the categories that I have selected. It's going to take a while, but let's go. That was exhausting. I now have my stacks of books. One of those books is really painfully digging into my butt. Ow. We're just gonna have to endure, I guess. I am not going to tell you what any of these books are about. I am literally going to show you the cover, the book, and the genre. If you want to find out more, you can either ask me in the comments what a particular book is about and I'll let you know, or just go and look it up, because I ain't got time to be doing all of that. The first category I'm going to start with is the one that's currently digging me in the butt, because that one's quite painful and I can get it back on the shelf, and it's also the one that's going to take up the most space. So for that is YA fantasy. This Vicious Grace by Emily Tiede. The Gilded Cage, which is book 2 in the Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. Beasts of Prey by Ayana Gray. Raybearer by Jordan Ifweko. Thorn by Intisar Kanani. With Fire in Their Blood by Kat Delacourt. Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. The Song That Moves the Sun by Anna Bright. Waking the Witch by Rachel Burge. The Boneless Mercies by April Genevieve Tuchoke or not to choke? That is the question. Viper, which is book 1 in the Isles of Storm and Sorrow by Bex Hogan. Wow, that one was difficult to say. These Twisted Bonds, which is book 2 in These Twisted Vows? Something? Book 2 in this duology by Lexi Ryan. Girls of Fate and Fury, which is the 3rd and final book in the Girls of Paper and Fire series by Natasha Nian. Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. A Dream So Dark, which is book 2 in the Nightmare Verse by L.L. McKinney. Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. Fire with Fire by Destiny Soraya. I'm trying to read it and I'm reading it backwards. Daughter of Darkness by Kat and Liz Core. To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This Poison Heart by Kaylin Bayron. Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adier. I have one middle grade fantasy, but I've decided I'm just going to count that in with the YAs, otherwise it'll be on its own and it'll just get confusing for me. So we have The Icy Pirates, The Ice Sea, not icy, ice space sea, 2 words, Pirates by Frida Nilsson. And those are the YA fantasies. If I... That's a glamour shot and a half, eh? But these are my YA fantasies. Not as many as I actually thought there would be, but yeah. So I'm just going to take a minute, get them sorted, put on the shelf properly and nice and neatly, and I'll be back with you. Wow, I am done because I still have an entire, starting here, I still have an entire stack of YA fantasy. I did think that didn't seem right. That didn't seem enough. So to continue, we have Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, Nimona by N. Stevenson, Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, Queen of Vaults by Amanda Foody, Shadows on the Moon by Zoe Marriott, Furthermore by Tahira Mafi, which is another one of the middle grades, The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder, Malice by Heather Walters, Graceling by Kristin Kashaw, The Lost City by Amanda Hocking, Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake, and then the actual final one, which is another, I think, middle grade, is The Last Spell Breather by Julie Pike. So now we have done the YA fantasies and I'm going to put them on the shelf. Right, so that's those in place, as you can see. Nice, neat, tidy. The next category is going to be what I consider the miscellaneous category. Therefore, these are all of the books that don't fit into any of the other genres for the game that I'm doing. So these include literary fiction, poetry, non-fiction, historical, horror, thriller, anything that doesn't fit those other 5 major categories that I have a lot of books for. We have Best Loved Poems, which is a compendium of poems that edited by Neil Phillip. Have Dragon Bows, The Story of Pekin Man by Penny Van Oostersee, I'm hoping, maybe. Have The History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Kelly that I'm reading as part of my Around the World. This is an Australian book. Circus of Wonders by Elizabeth McNeil, which is a historical fantasy. When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnell, which is also historical fantasy and feminism. This Much Is True by Miriam Margolyes, which is an autobiography. Oh, not quite. Have a Heart by Gokul, who is a friend of my dad's, so this is like real life, almost autobiographical fiction. Homegoing by Yag Yassi, which is kind of a contemporary, kind of a historical mixture. The Ninth Child by Sally Magnuson, which is historical and thriller. Sky in the Deep, which is a historical fantasy, I think, but I think it's more historical, by Adrienne Young. Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People by Renmi Edo Lodge, which is non-fiction and is a essay about racism in the UK. Wonderland, which I have supposed to have been reading every single day this year. Flip, I'm going to have to get on and catch up. This is a story or a fact a day about a species within the UK wildlife, and it just picks, throughout the year, it just picks an animal or a plant for every single day of the year and talks a little bit about where they're at in their life cycle. Vikings by Neil Oliver, which is a reference book I'm using for my novel. The Celtic Year, a celebration of Celtic Christian saints, sites and festivals. I'm not sure if I'm going to read this in one go, but this is one that I want to reference throughout the year because I want to reconnect with my pagan and Celtic sort of pagan faith. And then I have a book that I'm probably never going to read, but I love it and it's one of my most prized possessions, and that is the complete illustrated Lewis Carroll. It has every single piece of his work. This thing is a chonker. It's 1,160 pages, not books. So that's it for the other category, so I'm going to put those away now. Next up, I'm going to do contemporary. I think, yeah, I'll do contemporary, and I've noticed most of this seems to be YA. So we have The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharp, Simon vs. the Homo Sapien Agenda by Becky Albertalli, Harley in the Sky by Akemi Dawn Bowman, The Woman Who Stole My Life by Marion Keyes. I do have another middle grade for this one, which is The 13 Treasures by Michelle Harrison. You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. The Last Library by Freya Sampson. Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney. All Our Hidden Gifts by Caroline O'Donoghue. An Arc of Out of Character by Jenna Miller. The Magic Fish, which is a graphic novel by Trung Len Nyayen. The Henna Wars by Adiba Jagidar. The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds-Reid. Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. And finally, The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi. So those are the contemporary books. Next up, I'm going to do romance, I think. Just as my contemporary is 90% YA, my romance is 90% adult. We have in our romance section Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, that I'm hoping to buddy read with Shah from Thoroughly Enjoyed Books in the next couple of months. The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Ramos, that speaking of Shah, she bought me this for Christmas for 2022, so thank you, Shah. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The Princess and the Fangirl, which is book 2 in the Geekerella series by Ashley Poston. Resistance is Futile, which is like a science nerdy romance by Jenny T. Colgan. The Start of Something by Miranda Dickinson. Twice in a Lifetime by Helga Jensen. Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. And finally, Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Again, I have more of these on my e-books and on NetGalley, but physical, I just have a small collection. The next and second to last category is sci-fi. And I'm starting off with one that may not be technically sci-fi. I also, when I come with sci-fi, I tend to lump things like paranormal and urban fantasy. Quite often I link that into sci-fi because I feel it just fits better. And anything to do with superheroes, I tend to link more with sci-fi. And so Flash Fire by TJ Klune, I think this is actually a fantasy. It's categorised as that, but I consider it more in the sci-fi because it's dealing with superheroes and superpowers. We have The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson, that I've had for about 3 years now. We have The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, which is one of the paranormal / sci-fi ones that I've included and is currently on a soft DNF. We have Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Stars Never Rise by Rachel Vincent. The Stranded by Sarah Daniels. Scythe and Thunderhead by Neil Schusterman. Angel Fall by Susan E., which will be a reread. Butterfly Assassin by Finn Longman. I'm not entirely certain if this is categorically a sci-fi, but to my brain it seems to fit more in the sci-fi genre. The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Schreffer. This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab. And then Red Rising by Pierce Brown, that I started in December, but I'm only 10 pages in, so I can't judge yet. I actually have a lot more sci-fi than I thought I did. Considering I'm not a sci-fi girl, I seem to have started to accumulate it. All of my books have been scattered around the house for a few months, so this is the first time I've put them all together in one place for a while, and I have run out of shelf space. And I still have a stack this high and a stack this high to get through. Anyway, final category, and we are now on to what I think is going to be my favourite category for this year, which is adult fantasy. Kickstarting with The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. I have book 1 and 2 in the Fallen Kingdom series by Morgan Rhodes. Captive Prince by C.S. Pacat, that I'm actually going to start reading today. Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. The Mermaid by Christina Henry. A reread of The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. Those Above by Daniel Polanski. I have book 2 in the For the Wolf series by Hannah Witten, so For the Throne. The Dark Vault by V.E. Schwab, which is a compendium of the Archive and the Unbound novels. The 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Cursed, which is an anthology of dark, spooky retellings. The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks, that I've started and haven't yet finished. The Innocent Mage by Karen Miller, and I also have the second book, Awakened Mage. I've got another Fantastical 3, which is another adult fairy tale retellings. Marauder by L.L. McNeil. The Grimm Company by Luke Scull. The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. God of Neverland by Gamma Ray Martinez. And then finally we have Priory of the Orange Tree, that I am currently working my way through with as a buddy read with Chloe H, and am kind of enjoying so far, but I'm not even 100 pages in. Like I said, I have actually run out of room, so a bunch of these are now just in piles. You can't see because that's blocking the way. But a bunch of these are just in piles now. I think I've got a little reading trolley thing from Hobbycraft, that I'm currently using for random stuff in my art slash crafting room that I haven't even gone near in about 6 months. So I think I'm going to go through that, clear it, bring it in here, because even though I've not got a lot of space, if I move my bin so it's in front of my drawers, which will be a bit of a hassle, but it's doable, but if I move my bin over I can put the TBR cart, and I think I'm just going to have to put some books on there. As I said, I'm not going to put myself on a book buying ban this year, but I am going to try to restrict how many books I buy. I want to get to the point where I read enough physical books that everything fits onto one shelf with no overspill. I've also got any books that I get in 2023, they're going to be stored on a different bookshelf so that these remain the priority ones that I see every single day. And therefore, when I'm picking TBRs, I'm more likely to choose the books on my backlog, unless, of course, it's an arc like this one or any other arcs that I've got that I need to get to. They will obviously go on here as a priority as well. And then I've also arranged this so that this box here, up until recently, this box was my arcs, and I stored all of my arcs and samplers in here. Now it's my monthly TBR, so these are the books that I want to get to this month. And then, like I said, I store my hardbacks here, and then just to give you a little tour of up here, I have pens and things that I use for my journaling and highlighting. I have my pot of bookmarks. My tablet usually sits here, little savings pot, and then just some little room sprays and Chickadee, who has fallen. Oh no, Chickadee! He lived. He's good. So yeah. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching. If you've watched that whole thing, then let me know any books that you think I should get my butt in gear and read, because I love to hear from you and what you think are books that I should get to. I really hope you're good, I hope you're staying safe, and until next time, bye!